This sweeping expanse of cliff, some of it Ghost Ranch, some of it National Forest, was claimed by O'Keeffe as her backyard, as it was the view from her kitchen, bedroom, and studio. It is what you see coming in from the highway and the area we will tour today. Just after we pass through the green gate, sharp-eyed folks might spot this dead juniper, also called a cedar in this part of the country. In the background are the pink and red and lavender hills, the same formations you see in the Painted Desert and the Petrified Forest. And yes, we have found some petrified wood on Ghost Ranch, not nearly as colorful as Arizona's. Here is where we find the phytosaur fossils in this Chinle Formation, and our Paleo Museum welcomes your visit after the tour to learn more about fossils in this area. In 1939, O'Keeffe painted this tree, naming it Cedar Tree with Lavender Hill. We call it the eyeball tree. Note again the background forms. In 1934, her first summer at the ranch, these forms had been a painting on their own titled Lavender Hill Forms. Another dead juniper right by the road catches the eye of the traveler. O'Keeffe was fascinated by these junipers, some over 200 years old, and did several paintings of them. This might possibly be the one O'Keeffe painted in 1937, calling it Gerald's tree after a ranch visitor who had left a ring of footprints around it. Or perhaps this is Gerald's tree. It could even be a decaying hump like this, or born again as a fence post. At any rate, she did two versions. One is soft in focus with the red and yellow cliffs moved up behind it. The other painting is brighter against a background of red hills. Hills so interesting that even an ordinary photograph has the charm of a painting. We do have a lot of red hills, and O'Keeffe painted them often, using pastels as well as oils, as in this 1937 painting, Red Hill White Flower. The flower is most likely a datura, often called a Jimson weed, and more likely a real flower, not one of the artificial ones she sometimes used. She also used the hills as background for her smooth white bones, as in Red Hills and Bones, 1941. And 18 years later, she did a reprise of her 1934 painting of the Lavender Hills in Lavender Hills with Green, 1952. Some geological formations just seem to catch the eye like this interesting hill does. O'Keeffe painted it in 1935, named it Hill, New Mexico. She was not terribly creative in the title department. She loved the cliff area, location of many early morning walks with her chows and subject of a large number of paintings. This is a close-up of our opening scene, O'Keeffe's backyard. She talked and wrote often about the waterfalls which poured over the edge of the cliffs after sudden summer thunderstorms, an area partly hidden in the shadow here, but highly visible here. There really are waterfalls, as we who live here can attest, but we don't want one today, as the road would become very muddy. Typical work includes Red and Yellow Cliffs, Ghost Ranch, 1940, which we have for sale in poster form, of course, in the Trading Post. At the request of former director Jim Hall, in 1976, Miss O'Keeffe selected this red and yellow cliffs painting as the poster to be sold only here at Ghost Ranch in our gift shop. O'Keeffe sometimes used the vertical image of cliffs, as in Cliffs Beyond Abiquiu, My Backyard, 1943. On this road to the cliffs and a private dwelling, notice how the cliffs seem to end abruptly. Actually, they turn a corner and continue north. This termination shows the edge of the cut made by the Chama River and its tributaries. Note the small, pointed red rock just left of the cliffs. See how it becomes an identifiable landmark in Part of the Cliffs, 1937? These cliff chimneys are also very easy to see, and O'Keeffe's painting of them is almost photographic in execution. In this work entitled Cliff Chimneys, 1938. But the best-known physical feature associated with O'Keeffe and her Ghost Ranch work is her beloved mountain Pedernal. She claimed this view as her front yard, stating that God had said she could have the mountain if she painted it enough. Well, she's gone, and the mountain is still there. It is not on Ghost Ranch. It is in National Forest, and therefore belongs to all of us. There are approximately 28 works which include Pedernal, beginning with such paintings as Pedernal with Red Hills, where the landmark is featured prominently. She did 3 studies of this view in 1936, this one in pastels and the other 2 in oils. Also that summer, she painted Deer's Skull with Pedernal, where the mountain might escape notice at first. 1936 was her first summer of studio use of the house she later bought from Arthur Pack. The house offered her a splendid view of the mountain from the patio. Her last painting of Pedernal is Ladder to the Moon, done in 1958. It is a well-known painting, yet Pedernal might go unnoticed unless you knew to look for it. Georgia O'Keeffe's backyard, home of dinosaurs and dust devils, rocks and ridges, cattle rustlers, ghosts, poker games, atomic scientists, and dudes. The area she loved, explored, painted, and lived in for over 50 years.